Hello everyone, this is your friend from Naruto Audio Fanfics, and we are back once again with a brand new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto fell into the forest of death, awakened a demon-devouring bloodline, and rose with Hinata Hyuga, Ino Yamanaka, Tamari, Anko Mitarashi, Tsunade Senju and Kurenai Yuhi to usher a new age of shinobi part 1. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Naruto fanfics like this. So without wasting any more time, let's start today's fanfic. Kukukuku, did you really think you could do any good against me, boy? The voice was laced with something Sakura had never felt in her life before, and it chilled her to the bone. Not that it seemed to bother the blonde who was glaring at the Kusa Kunoichi with cold eyes. Piss off, you freak, before I pound you into the ground, shouted Naruto. After stopping his dark-haired teammate from giving up their scroll, Naruto had begun to fight the pale-skinned Kusanin, landing a few blows before being caught off guard when the enemy used her ridiculously long tongue to lash out at him. Kukuku, I'm afraid I cannot do as you wish, Naruto-kun. After all, I do have a plan for your precious teammate Sasuke-kun. Damn it. There's no way this creep is a genin with all those weird jutsus she keeps pulling out. Not to mention she's not even breathing hard. Even Zabuza was easier to fight than her, and this killing intent way above his too. Clearly Naruto was getting annoyed at how this enemy seemed to be unstoppable. What do you want with him, huh? The Tem's not that special after all, Naruto exclaimed. Naruto baka, shut up about Sasuke-kun. He's way better than a dead last like you. Came a shriek that caused the others to flinch at the volume. Yes, even in a situation like this, Sakura Haruno still rushed to defend her precious Sasuke-kun from any and all negative remarks about him. See, Naruto-kun, your little friend there sees the greatness of the last Uchiha. Though I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that you don't like him. After all, he gets the best of everything, doesn't he? While you are left with nothing. Kukuku, now, why don't you sit back and watch how I deal with him? Let's just get this over with. After all, it's not you can stand to the power the elite Uchiha clan has. Sasuke smirked at their opponent, completely forgetting the fact that he had been about to piss himself out of fear before Naruto arrived. The Kusanin grinned viciously, and suddenly began making hand seals, and to the surprise of Team 7, began stretching her neck to a disturbingly snake-like length. As his neck continued to expand, her head began to race towards the Uchiha, who could only watch in shock at how agile this enemy nin was, and as soon as she reached Sasuke, she bit down on his neck, and began channeling chakra through her teeth. As Sasuke was released, a mark that was similar in shape to the 3 tomo of the Sharingan. Sakura and Naruto were about to ask what the enemy did, when their ally suddenly began screaming in pain. Sasuke-kun. Completely forgetting that the battle wasn't finished, Sasuke's pup, Team 7's Kunoichi, ran to her teammate to check up on him. You bastard! Naruto screamed, charging at the enemy, hands curled into claws, trying to catch her off guard. Managing to get close, Naruto successfully caught a blow on the Kusanin's cheek. However, when he got a look at the damage, his breath caught in his throat. Instead of blood, there was only a paler shade of skin. The girl began to chuckle, and reached up to her face, only to rip it off. Underneath was a pale, yet masculine face, bearing purple marks below the eyes, which had slitted, dark yellow pupils, very much like a snake's. Naruto stared in horror at this new visage. Who the hell are you? Asked Naruto in a nervous tone, as if afraid of the answer. Why I am, Orochimaru of the Sannin, of course, responded the smug man before biting his finger and making hand signs. He then slammed his hands to the ground and cried, Kuchio's no jutsu. A large cloud appeared and Naruto heard something moving around before a large snake burst from the smoke with its mouth wide open ready to devour him. Jumping out of the way, Naruto formed his own hand signs and shouted, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Several copies of the blonde ninja poofed into existence and began throwing kunai and shuriken at the summoned beast. After a number of the weapons struck the serpent in the eye, the snake dispelled itself and returned to where it came from. With the summon dealt with, Naruto and his clones began looking around for the nuke nin, only to hear some of the clones being destroyed. Whirling around, Naruto saw the enemy and sent his clones to wear him down, only for them to be taken with far greater ease than he expected. Orochimaru turned towards the young Jinchuriki with a smirk on his lips. Well, this was certainly more entertaining than I thought, however I think that you may prove to be troublesome than necessary to my plans, so, making hand signs, the snake Sanin grabbed the stunned Genin's neck with his tongue. Once he was the signs his fingers started to give off purple flames, and Orochimaru revealed the Shiki Fujin and stabbed his fingers around it, shouting, Gogyo Fuin. Naruto screamed from the pain of the sealing technique, and soon passed out. Hearing the screams, Sakura finally looked from where she tending to Sasuke. As she watched, Orochimaru tossed Naruto off to the side, where he fell into the darkness of the forest below. As the nuke nin turned towards her, she asked, "What did you do to Sasuke-kun?" Fear and nervousness clear on her face. "I simply gave him a little gift, one that will have begging for more. I'll spare you for now, as I have more pressing business to attend to. Farewell." Elsewhere, a seal began pulsing with a dark red energy that gave off an evil, demonic aura. An aura that was sensed by many creatures in the forest, who soon began moving in search of this strange power. I do not own Naruto or this idea. The idea belongs to Cage Doragon. What? Where am I? The young ninja slowly got up from where he was laying. What the? Wasn't I just in a forest? How the hell did I get in a sewer? Looking around, Naruto started walking through damp halls, wondering why he wasn't wet from laying in the 2-inch deep water. After wandering for what seemed like hours, he came across a strange symbol. It was a circle full of lines that swirled to the center with a fox head. What is this? Without warning, the mark began glowing a dark purple, bathing the area in an eerie feel. The symbol starts to beat like a heart. Feeling uneasy, Naruto decided that he should find a way out. He starts moving at a fast pace, looking for an exit. "Come here, young one." The voice came out of nowhere, startling the genin. Deciding to follow the voice, Naruto hoped it would be willing to help him. Soon, he came to a large opening in the wall, almost as if it was meant for a giant. Going in, Naruto saw an enormous gate, which upon closer inspection, had a small piece of paper with the kanji for seal on it. "Well, now that you're here, we can begin." As the voice spoke, a large figure appeared out of the darkness. "What the? Wait, you're the Kyuubi." Indeed, the being was a blood-red fox, with 9 tails waving lazily behind it. "Smart boy. Now that that's established, let me tell that your chakra was sealed by that hubby Tem. And because of that, the chakra that the Yondaime Hokage's seal transferred from me to you is running amok in your body, changing it. Fortunately for you, your body has adapted to my power, otherwise you'd already be dead. If you let me, I can use the chakra to give you a Kekkei Genkai that will allow you to absorb demonic energy without having to worry about it harming you. However, I do want something in return. Freedom. I'm not letting you go so you can attack the village if that's what you want, Kyuubi Tem. No, I simply want to be able to stretch my legs. I would still be bound to you, and the Kekkei Genkai I plan on giving you will allow you to keep me from hurting anyone." Glaring suspiciously at the demon, Naruto asks, "What does the Kekkei Genkai do then?" "It allows you to absorb demonic chakra, as well as the demons themselves. So long as they are weaker than you will be able to incorporate their power and skills into your own. You will have the ability to summon them in 3 different forms: demon, human, and weapon. There is a drawback to this, as you will lose access to their chakra when summoned. I know you don't like to be given power for nothing, so you will have to work to control their powers, except for passive abilities such as enhanced senses. You will also be able to partially infuse your body with a demon's chakra to gain temporary physical benefits and change in appearance. The changes will be similar to body of the demon you're infusing, though they'll only be minor ones. There are a few more things, but there are demons approaching your location. So, do you accept? Naruto, who was a little surprised that the Kyuubi would be willing to give him something like that, thought it over for a few seconds, before making a choice. Alright, I'll agree to that, but what do you get out of it? Well, for one thing, I get a little more company around here, seeing as your mind is a little empty right now. Plus, seeing as you've technically already absorbed me, you can summon me as well. Now then, I'll activate the Kekkei Genkei as you're waking up, so try it out on those low-class demons. Wait, what was that weird symbol I saw before? We can discuss that later, for now go kick. The surrounding area began to fade out as the fox spoke again. Oh, one last thing. I'm a girl. The vixen smirked at the astonished on Naruto's face as he began to awake. Forest of Death. Naruto's eyes shot open as he sat up. Looking around, he noticed the ground around him looked burnt and dead. Snap! Naruto spun around and saw what had made the noise. Damn. The creatures were clearly not something that could be considered normal. The first was on 4 legs, standing almost 6 feet at the shoulder. It had a feline appearance with a long tail. The beast was covered in purple fur with lavender stripes on the end of its tail, its legs, and on its chest. The fur on its lower legs, ears, and cheeks was white with a red tuft on the tip of the tail. Its ears were long, and its eyes were green and surrounded by black markings. Looking it over, Naruto saw that the creature had opposable thumbs on its front paws. The second was like a mutated crow. If a crow had a wingspan of 16 feet and 2 heads. Its cries make unbearable noises, while flapping its wings where entice batches of feathers were missing. The third was what appeared to be a very long dog that floated in the air. Its body was over 20 feet long and covered in white fur, its black maw in a sneering grin and glowing eyes. A cat, a bird, and a dog demon. Kyuubi, is that you? Yes, Naruto, it's me. Now, be careful. Cat demons tend to prefer speed in battle. They also like to play with their prey. Try to finish it first. The bird is called a Nihitsu Kiai. They enjoy disorientating their enemy, so keep focused, and the dog is an Inagumi who prefers to sit back and use long-range fire shots. Alright then, let's get this started. Naruto settled into a taijutsu stance and prepared to fight. The beast opened its mouth, revealing a green tongue, and fired what appeared to be a blast of black lightning at Naruto. Naruto jumped to the side, barely avoiding the attack. Using the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he sent the clones to attack up close. Just as the clones reached the demon, its mane whipped around and grabbed them. Oh come on. It can use its hair as a weapon. That's so not fair. The clones used their kunai to try to cut the hair, but it proved futile as the hair shifted out of the way and then pierced through them. Meanwhile, another clone was wrapping a large number of explosive tags into a ball. Running straight at the cat's head, the clone allowed itself to get caught to get closer. When the cat pulled it in to look at the clone, it shoved the tags into the demon's face just as they ignited. Asterisk boom. Naruto and his remaining clones watched carefully for any sign of the demon. As the smoke began to clear, Naruto saw that the cat demon was wavering. As its face was revealed, Naruto saw that the fur on its face had been burned off, and its jaw had been broken from the power of the explosion. It began stumbling as it had lost its coordination. Naruto, it's lost enough power, do it now. The jutsu is Demon Assimilation Jutsu, and the hand seals are Hitsuji, Ushi, Nezumi, and Ryu. Once you do those, put your palm on its forehead. Right. Hitsuji, Ushi, Nezumi, Ryu, Demon Assimilation Jutsu. Naruto rushed up and slammed his right hand onto the demon's forehead. With a flash of light, a vortex appeared in Naruto's palm and began sucking in the demon. Naruto felt a surge of chakra rushing through his body, and soon felt the presence of the new demon's mind. Naruto sighed and turned around, only to freeze as the Nihitsu Ki began to scream, cause the world around Naruto to blur as the Inagumi send a horde of small fire balls at him. Ah, I agree. The fight scene may be a little short, but that's because the Forest of Death only has low level with more passive-based abilities. The Cat Demon was at most a low C-class demon, easily defeated by anyone with enough skills. The Biju are much stronger, being from high S class to SSS class. The Kyuubi is a SSS class demon, so you can see that she is much stronger than a C class demon. Demon profile. Name: Killera. Type: Kyuubi no Yuko. Rank: SSS. Gender: female. Passive abilities: enhanced healing, affinity for all 5 main chakra types, enhanced chakra growth. Combat abilities: chakra cannon. Personality: despite being a demon, Killera prefers peace over war. She also loves being around children, and despises those who would hurt them. She also loathes the Uchiha clan, seeing them as nothing but power-hungry thieves. To her friends, she is the most loyal ally, and to her enemies, she is the fiercest opponent. Name: Kai. Type: Kuro Neko. Rank: lower C. Gender: female. Passive abilities: enhanced senses, night vision, enhanced agility, enhanced balance. Combat abilities: none. Forms: as a weapon she becomes a set of gauntlets and greaves with fur around the wrist and knees. The white color can make it harder to follow. Her human form is a slender woman with dark hair, sharp teeth, yellow eyes. Personality: a natural hunter, fast, aggressive, and unrelenting. This particular Neko is followed by 2 weak demons who eat whatever she leaves behind in a hope to get stronger. She pays them no mind due to how weak they are. Her power lays in her natural-born abilities as she enjoys hurting in the dark where she can't be seen. Name: Jin. Type: Inagumi. Rank: mid-D. Gender: male. Passive abilities: mind reading. Combat abilities: low-level fire and healing abilities. Forms: weapon: a whip that on contact causes fire damage. Human: a thin, tall man who looks like a crazy man about to take a bite out of you. Personality: a low-level demon who is always in the useless quest to increase its minuscule power. It tends to team up with other low-level demons to help it. He tends to hang in the back and throw barrages of fireballs to weaken its prey and heal itself whenever injured. Name: Shu. Type: Nihitsu Ki, 2-headed screaming bird. Rank: lower D. Gender: male. Passive abilities: NA. Combat abilities: NA. Forms: weapon: a pair of elbow-length gloves coved in feathers. When the feathers make contact they act as a fast-acting explosive tag. Human: when in human form he appears as a man dressed in an all-black suit with a top hat. Personality: deep, dark, and philosophical. He acts as a weary warrior who prefers to attack already weakened foes. I do not own Naruto or this idea. The idea belongs to Cage Doragon. Timeskip. Forest of Death. Arg. Where the hell is that baka? We can't pass without that idiot. Sakura and Sasuke were outside of the tower waiting for Naruto, despite the fact that he could be dead for all they knew. Grr. We only have 1 day left, and that loser is making us wait. Yes, Sakura completely ignored the fact that Naruto could be seriously hurt or even dead. Don't worry, even the Dobi wouldn't dare to be late for this. After all, I'm an Uchiha, and we can't fail. Sasuke stated, with Sakura's eyes turning into stars when she looked at him. After being attacked by Orochimaru, Sakura had somehow managed to get Sasuke to the ground and hidden under a series of roots. After setting up some traps, Sakura had stood watch, waiting for her precious Sasuke to wake up. A few hours after preventing a squirrel from revealing her traps, a trio of sound ninjas appeared and proceeded to demand she wake up Sasuke. Sakura demanded answers about Orochimaru from the ninjas, only for the kunoichi to shunshin behind her and grab her, taunting her about her skills as a kunoichi. Freeing herself by cutting her hair with a kunai, Sakura started using Kawarimi no Jutsu to fight the spiky-haired boy with the kanji for death on the front of his shirt. After getting a few bruises from him, Sakura was about to be finished when Rock Lee appeared and began fighting to protect her. Soon, the battle was joined by Team 10 and the rest of Lee's team, only for Sasuke to finally wake up and send the enemies running after breaking Death Boy's arms. Having been given the Sound Team's scroll, Sasuke and Sakura began trekking through the forest to get to Tower. They soon joined up with Genin with the Nin info cards, Kabuto, and managed to defeat a team from Omegakure and gain their final scroll. They quickly arrived at the tower, only for Kabuto to remind them that they need all 3 teammates to enter the tower and pass the second exam. They had already been waiting for Naruto to arrive for 2 days, not even thinking of looking for him. WRRRRAAAA. Crash. Damn Kai. Spinning around to look towards the trees, Sasuke and Sakura saw Naruto on top a large cat with purple fur. But he was a little different from when they last saw him. Naruto was missing his orange jacket, and his pants and black shirt were shredded almost beyond recognition. His weapon pouches were missing and his clothes were covered in dirt and blood. What could be seen of his skin was covered in cuts and bruises. Naruto. Where the hell have you been, Baka? Glaring at Sakura, Naruto walked up to the door and opened it, obviously not wanting to talk. Pausing, Naruto looked at the cat demon before walking inside with it following shortly behind. Looking at each other, Sasuke and Sakura soon followed, curious as to why Naruto did what he did. As soon as the two got inside, they went over to Naruto and pulled out the 2 scrolls, wondering what to do next. Maybe we should try opening them now. What do you think, Sasuke-kun? Let's do it. Sasuke and Sakura unrolled the scrolls. Throw them down, now. Hearing Sasuke's exclamation, Naruto turned and saw that the scrolls were smoking, and when they hit the floor and overlapped each other, a large puff of smoke appeared from them. As the smoke cleared, the 3 genin saw, to their surprise, Yumi no Iruka. Iruka-sensei. Hey guys, what the hell is that? Turning pale, Iruka pointed at the demon. Oh, that's just a demon. Naruto stated as if talking about the weather. The other 3 just stared at him with a deadpan look on their faces. Naruto, how the hell could you beat a demon? Looking at Sakura, Naruto stated, so Iruka-sensei, what are you doing here? Iruka blinked and coughed into his hand. Well, I'm here to congratulate you 3 on passing the second part of the exam, and to explain the meaning of the phrase on the wall. Don't want to write this part, so I'll skip it. Well, now that that's done, Naruto, why did you bring a demon in here? Well, apparently I have a Kekkei Genkai, and I think I should wait to explain it till I can tell the Hokage. The others all stared at Naruto in shock at this news. Ignoring this, Naruto turned to Demon, which was still knocked out. Sasuke glared at Naruto as he and the cat demon walked out of the room, while Sakura tried to convince herself that Naruto's Kekkei Genkai would never stand up to the Sharingan. Iruka shook his head and used Shunshin to find the Hokage and inform of the news. Short time skip. After dropping off Kai in the room he claimed, Naruto decided to explore the tower and see who else was there. He quickly found a room full of tables with food on them, and looking around he saw some familiar faces. Hey, Choji, Shikamaru, Ino, what's up? Naruto, you're alive. Troublesome. It's kinda obvious he's alive, Ino. He's standing right in front of us. Ino blushed after her lazy teammate said this. Turning back to Naruto, Ino looked him over, noticing how torn up his clothes were. What the hell happened to you, Naruto? You look like you went a blender or something. Well, I was attacked by a bunch of low-level demons. This statement quickly caught the attention of Team 10. Ino gaped, Shikamaru stared with an incredulous look on his face, and Choji dropped his chopsticks into his lap. What? I said. Low-level. They weren't all that strong for the most part. The other 3 just continued to stare. Before they could recover from their shock, the four genin heard a familiar voice call out. Hey, I guess we're all here then, since if Naruto's here his team should be here too, right Shino? That appears to be the case, Kiba, though I do wonder why you are not with your teammates, Naruto-san. Well, I just felt exploring the tower, besides I didn't really feel like being near them right now, especially since they seemed to have been waiting outside of the tower instead of trying to find me after we were separated. At this the others looked confused, though nobody could tell with Shino. What do ya mean separated? What? Did you annoy your team so much they left while you slept? Hey. Kiba laughed as he taunted Naruto. Though he thought it was funny, everyone else was just annoyed by Kiba's antics. We were separated when we were attacked by some freak named Orochimaru. Though I'm pretty sure he was just toying with us. The others were stunned at hearing that he was attacked by a man who was considered for the title of Hokage and managed to survive. Are you all are right, and Naruto-kun. Hinata was clearly the most worried about him, which even Naruto noticed. Naruto began explaining what happened during the fight with Orochimaru and being attacked by the demons, though he kept quiet about his new Kekkei Genkai and the powers it gave him. After he finished, the others had various reactions. Hinata gazed at him, admiration in her eyes. Shikamaru and Choji just looked at Naruto, impressed. Shino contemplated on how strong Naruto really was. Ino was confused at how Naruto's actions went against the beliefs about him she had, and Kiba just laughed at what he thought were lies to make Naruto look better than he was. Ha, there's no way any of that happened. I bet you just got knocked out and dreamed all that. Then how do you explain the state of his clothes, Kiba? Shikamaru smirked as Kiba's mouth moved up and down. Whatever man. Hey, Hinata, how about we go on a date after we get out of here, huh? Kiba quickly attempted to change the subject by trying to get what he's been after since he peeked on Hinata during her time at the local hot springs. Anyo, I don't think so. Sorry. Come on Hinata, I mean it's not like anybody wants to date you. After all, I'm the only one who's ever asked you out. What are you talking about Mutt? Someone as nice as Hinata must have lots of people wanting to be with her. Needless to say, Naruto was quite confused that Hinata had never been asked by anybody other than Kiba. The reason for that, Naruto-san, is that most people know that she already likes someone who is rather oblivious to her affections. Kiba-san is aware of this as well, but he seems to think he would be a better partner for her, despite the fact that the reason he wants her is because he spied on her while she was at the hot springs. In other words, he only wants her for her body. What? Kiba, is that true? Needless to say, Naruto was pissed that Kiba, someone he saw as a friend, would be so shallow. So what? Jeesh, it's like I said, nobody else wants her, so I might as well take her for my own. At least that way that she can actually have kids, right? Not like girls like her are good for anything else. At this point everyone was glaring at him, especially Ino, while Hinata looked worried. Kiba, I think you should shut up right now, before you get hurt. Naruto clenched his teeth, now beyond pissed at what he was hearing. A little known fact about Naruto is that he hates rapists more than anything. The only people aware of Naruto's hatred were the Hokage, the Ichiraku family, and a couple Anbu members. From his point of view, Kiba's words were the type of crap he'd expect from scum like that Gedu bastard from the mission in Nami. Hey, what are you going to do to make me, huh? It's not what Naruto alone would do, it's what all of us would do to you Kiba. Kiba glanced over at Choji, startled that the usually kind boy would threaten anybody. Looking around, the dog boy saw that he was outnumbered. Fine, whatever. I'm out of here. Let's go Akamaru. Turning around, the boy and his dog walked off. Once they were gone, Team 10 went back to their food, and Naruto turned towards the remaining members of Team 8. Well, now that that's done with, I'm gonna get some food. What about you Hinata, Shino? Naruto and the rest of the genin who made it past the forest of death stood before the Hokage and the judging jonin in rows consisting of their teams. Naruto looked around as he ran through with reading the minds of most. He had to say that he was disappointed with as they were either contemplating about how strong the Sand team was or how they could help train the Uchiha. Only a handful of people had thoughts of any interest and he often felt differently. The Hokage, this year's genin indeed carry the will of fire. I don't think so. Most of the ninja here are here for either their own dark purposes or to help Sasuke Tem and the other genin just want the promotion. Kakashi. Good, Sasuke made it and Sakura seems like she's starting to pull her own weight. Although it's disappointing that the demon made it as well. Yeah. You can call me that all you like. At this point, to be called human would be an insult if humans act like you do. Anko. I can't believe so many made it. I was expecting single digits, but what is Lord Hokage thinking letting the Uchiha continue with that curse mark on his back? Curse mark. Guy. To think so many rookies made it. The training you put them through must have been impressive. My rival, but they're still no match for my students. He's mostly right. His students are older, smarter, and more experienced, but my bloodline gives me exactly what I need. Once the last of the passing teams arrived, the genin were gathered in a large room with stairways to balconies on either side of the entrance, and a large statue of two hands making a hand sign, at the base of which stood the Hokage, the previous two proctors, Anko, and all the team's jonin instructors. Congratulations to all of you on reaching the final exam, Sarutobi said. Before I explain to you the third test, there is something that I would like for you all to know. This is the true reason for this exam, stated Sarutobi, immediately catching the attention of the gathered genin. Why do we have all the allied countries taking the exam together? Many believe it is to promote friendship among the countries. Others believe it is to raise the level of our shinobi. But here and now I will tell you the truth because I do not want you to be confused about this. Started Sarutobi, each of the genins listening to him closely. The truth of the matter is that this is a replacement for war among the allied countries. Said Sarutobi, successfully surprising even the most stoic and knowledgeable of the genin. If you trace back the history of the nations, you will find that the current allies were once enemies. These were people who fought over the rights to rule this world. However, in order to prevent wasteful fighting, these people set a stage for battle. That is the origin of the Chunin exam, explained Sarutobi. Why the hell do we have to do that? I thought this was just supposed to be for deciding who would become Chunin. Exclaimed Kiba. It is indeed a fact that this exam decides which shinobis have what it takes to become Chunin. However, on the other hand, this exam has another side, one where each country's shinobi risk their own life to protect their own country's prestige. Explained Sarutobi calmly. You see, watching the third exam will be leaders and influential individuals. These individuals are from many countries that make up the clients of the shinobi villages. The leaders of these countries will also be there to witness your battles. If the strength of a country is clear, then that country will receive more clients. However, if a country is perceived as weak, then they will lose clients. This will also signal potential enemy countries that your country has power. As such, this also sends a political message. Finished the Sandaime before taking a breath, followed by a hit from his pipe. Yeah, but why do we have to risk our lives in battle? Exclaimed Kiba, not liking the thought of dying for someone's entertainment. The strength of a country is measured by the strength of the village. The strength of a village is measured by the strength of its shinobi. And a shinobi's true strength can only be shown by a life-risking battle. This exam is a place to showcase each village's strength as well as your own. It only has meaning because lives are at risk, and that is why those that came before you have fought in the Chunin exam, finished Sarutobi. Then why do you say things about this being for friendship? Asked Sakura. I said it before in the beginning, that I didn't want you to confuse the purpose of this. By losing life and establishing balance. That is the shape of friendship in the shinobi world. Said the Sandaime before taking another hit from his pipe. Before we begin the third test, I will tell you one more thing. This is not just a test, It is a life-risking battle with your dreams and country's prestige on the line. I don't care what it is. Just hurry up and tell us what this life-risking battle entails," said Gaara impatiently. "Please, Lord Hokage, allow me, Hayate Gecko, proctor of the third exam, to speak," Hayate said. "Of course," Sarutobi said, letting Hayate have the floor. "Before the final exam begins, because there are so many of you remaining, we will need to have a preliminary round to reduce the number," Hayate said before going into a small coughing fit. Once he got it under control, he continued. "As of this moment, it's every man for himself. So if you want to quit now, your teammates will remain. Do any of you wish to drop out? Now if everyone could turn their heads to the screen, we will randomly pick 2 contestants," said the sickly proctor. The scene began to flip through the names of each contestant, but Naruto knew that it would be Sasuke and someone they were sure he could beat. Shortly it did. Sasuke Uchiha vs Yori Akato. I knew it. Of course, with whatever happened to Sasuke, they would want him to have an opponent who he would likely have the advantage over, so he could get treatment and make the Uchiha clan look better than they really are. Alright, the 2 that are fighting will remain down here. The rest of you go up to the balconies, Hayate said. As all but Sasuke and Yori headed to the balconies, Kakashi stopped next to Sasuke and whispered to him. "If that mark gets out of control, I'll stop the match. Don't use Sharingan or any jutsu." Sasuke stood across from Yori with Hayate a bit away from them, noting Kakashi's warning as Hayate spoke up. "Alright, the rules are simple, anything goes," Hayate said. "The match will continue until one of you gives up, dies, or is unable to continue. In addition, I can step in and stop the match if I deem it necessary." Sasuke and Yori nodded. "Alright, begin," Hayate said, jumping back to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. Yori ran at Sasuke with his hand poised to strike, but instead grabbed Sasuke's head. Sasuke started feeling his strength leave him the moment Yori grabbed him. "What the hell are you doing? So you noticed," Yori said. "I'm draining your chakra." Sasuke quickly broke Yori's hold and put some distance between the 2. "Damn it. Without any chakra I can't use my Sharingan or my jutsu," he thought angrily as Yori pressed the attack, managing to suck out more of Sasuke's chakra. "Gotta think. What can I do?" he thought before having an epiphany. "It's over," Yori exclaimed before Sasuke kicked him into the air and appeared behind him. "What the? Lion's barrage," Sasuke exclaimed, pulling Yori toward the floor and striking him 3 times before axe-kicking him in the chest, knocking him hard to the floor. Hayate ran over and checked on Yori, finding him unconscious. "The winner is Sasuke Uchiha," he said as he stood. "Way to go, Sasuke," Sakura said as Sasuke sat on the ground. Kakashi leaned close to Sasuke. "We need to seal that curse mark. Come with me," he whispered. Sasuke nodded and left with Kakashi as the next matchup was being chosen, soon stopping. Aburame Shino vs. Abumi Zaku. "Who's this loser?" said Zaku, getting a snort from the blonde-haired genin who took that moment to look away from the fight. The match was over in less than 5 minutes with Shino emerging as the victor. Of course, the Aburame heir had given the boy the chance to forfeit before he crippled him. Zaku, arrogant as always, simply sent a blast of chakra-induced wind at the Aburame, revealing that he could actually use one of his arms. Shino had simply melted into a mass of bugs before appearing on the other side of him and giving him a back fist that sent him flying. When he got up, he found himself between Shino and a wall of bugs. Once again, Shino gave him the chance to forfeit. Once again, Zaku refused and tried to blast both Shino and his bugs, only for his arms to inflate before exploding. Apparently, Shino had ordered his bugs to clog up the air holes in his opponent's hands, resulting in the explosion. And just like that, Shino was announced the winner. Almost as soon as Zaku was cleared away by the medics, Kakashi appeared behind Naruto and Sakura, the former ignoring the gushing Sakura was doing over Sasuke. He couldn't care less about the boy from this point, as apparently neither he or Sakura could no longer hold him back. So ignoring the two, he turned his gaze to the screen just in time to see the next match announced. Tsurugi Masumi vs. Kankuro. Naruto decided to actually watch this match as he wanted to see what Kankuro was capable of. This match, however, had also been a quick one, taking only about 3 minutes. Masumi apparently had the ability to stretch his limbs to a considerable length. Once he'd done this, he'd wrapped himself around Kankuro and broke his neck when he didn't forfeit. Almost immediately afterwards, Kankuro's neck snapped up and spun around, revealing the wood beneath. Just as the head spun around, a pair of arms burst out from within the jumpsuit, and the bundle that had been discarded unraveled, the real Kankuro jumping out, chakra strings connecting his hand connected to his puppet and revealing himself as a puppeteer. Masumi had been dead before he could hit the floor. Sakura Haruno vs. Ino Yamada. Kakashi had reappeared by this time to witness Sakura face off against her rival Ino. Words and weak attacks were exchanged between the girls as they battled with Academy-style Bunshin clone, until Ino managed to catch Sakura with her clan's jutsu Shintenshin no Jutsu, mind transfer technique. Ino was going to force Sakura to say that she forfeited until Naruto called out to his pink-haired teammate and told her to prove that she wasn't here just for show. Suffice to say that his words sparked interest in certain people, including his sensei, who just filed it away until he could talk about it in private. After that statement, Sakura somehow kicked Ino's spirit out of her body and they resumed their fight, which ended in a double knockout from the equal haymakers the girls gave each other. When it was all said and done and both girls came to a bit later, they made up and their friendship was mended somewhat. Sabaku no Tamari vs Tenten. Naruto could honestly say he was looking forward to the fight between Sabaku no Tamari and Higurashi Tenten, a match between two long-ranged specialists. Unfortunately, this match proved to be a mismatch as everyone found out that Tamari's being a wind user trumped Tenten's ability to hit her target with pinpoint accuracy. So when Tenten attempted to turn Tamari into a pincushion with her Soshoryu, twin rising dragons, ace in the hole, and it failed, the wind user retaliated with an attack of her own after opening her battle fan all the way to reveal 3 purple moons on it. Tenten was unprepared as she was hit directly with Tamari's Kamedachi no Jutsu, great cutting whirlwind technique, and she found herself receiving cuts all over her body as she was trapped in a whirlwind pillar. After that, she ended up landing on the end of Tamari's fan before being tossed off. Needless to say, this caused a heated argument between Tamari, who was pleased with her win, and Rock Lee with how she treated his teammate. Kiba vs Naruto. Naruto snorted at the board even as he heard Kiba's thoughts. Yahoo, looks like we get the easy win, Akamaru. His partner barking in agreement with his master's assessment. Kiba jumped over the railing, continuing to shout trash about how lucky he was. Naruto scoffed at Kiba's behavior as he slowly walked down, as he decided to act like a mature ninja instead of how he used to. What's the matter, dope? Know you're going to lose, so you're trying to look cool while doing it? Or is it that you realize that Hinata is better off as my bitch? Naruto finally looked at Kiba, but the way he did made Kiba freeze, as he never seen anyone look so angry. A moment later, Kiba shook it off, as this was the good-for-nothing dope, the dead last who couldn't even make clones. What did he, a clan heir, have to be afraid of? This will be over in one move, so you can just wait for me, boy, said Kiba as he did his family's beast mimicry as he went to all fours and charged at Naruto, intending to make good on what he said. Just as the hit was just about to hit, Naruto grabbed the affinetting elbow as but 1 foot behind him, and putting his weight on it, he spun before flinging Kiba back to his partner. Everyone knew the difference between the two that existed back in the academy, so everyone was surprised that Naruto not only blocked Kiba's hit but even countered. Kiba whipped his chin before he turned to Akamaru. Guess he's gotten better. No matter, let's finish him, buddy. Naruto looked at Kiba and Akamaru before turning to the proctor. He's allowed to use his dog. The sickly proctor nodded. Ninja dogs are tools just like a kunai or shuriken. Naruto nodded in understanding. Kiba grinned, knowing as long as it was him and Akamaru, the dead last could only run. What's the problem, dope? Too much to handle? Naruto didn't even look at Kiba as he asked his next question. If that's the case, am I able to use my summons? Many Jonins couldn't believe what they just heard. Many were upset that the demon brat had summons, the few who didn't wondered what kind of summon he could have. The proctor just nodded as they were tools as well. Alright then, it's going to be a 2-on-2. Naruto said as he bit his thumb and wrote a symbol in his palm in hand for show, as he didn't really need them to summon his partners. Summoning Jutsu. Kai called Naruto as a puff of smoke appeared to signify the use of jutsu, even though Naruto had actually used a smoke bomb to make it seem real. Once the smoke dissipated, everyone saw the demon cat Kai in all her demonic glory. As the adjuvants laid on the purple-haired demon cat, no one could respond until Kiba snapped out of his daze to yell. "What the hell is that?" Kiba yelled in fear of the demon cat, as he used to torture and kill them for fun. Now seeing one bigger than him, he was scared that karma was out for him. A bloodline summon. Everyone looked at the creature, wondering what sort of clan had bonds to this sort of monstrous cat. "What the hell do you mean, dope?" yelled Kiba, not liking this situation in the slightest. "My clan can pull spirits inside of our bodies and alter them for combat. The number of other abilities our clan has is secret. But I will tell you this, I have 2 more summons, a dog and a bird." Kiba froze hearing that Naruto, the dope, the loser, had 2 more of their monstrous summons in him. Kiba then scoffed at Naruto. "It doesn't matter, dope, as you're still nothing to me. I will kill you, then take Hinata as my bitch." "Ha ha ha ha," laughed Kiba, believing that the dope's summon would be just as weak as the dope himself. After all, it was just a cat. He'd kill just like any other. Naruto glared at Kiba. "I know I forgot to feed you this morning, Kai, so just eat the mutt." Kai nodded her head. Kiba snarled at Naruto for threatening his dog. Kiba threw a food pill to Akamaru before eating one himself. Akamaru turned red and attempted to charge at Naruto, only for Kai to intercept Akamaru at nearly twice the speed the small dog could move at. Many were surprised that something as large as this cat could move so fast without extreme training or a stimulant like the one Akamaru himself just took. Kiba charged the beast, but Naruto interfered, holding a kunai in a reverse grip, forcing Kiba to change course with Naruto on his tail while Kai reengaged Akamaru. Many Jonins, including Kiba's own, were wondering how could Naruto match Kiba. Of course Kiba wondered this as well, so Naruto elaborated, "I bet you're wondering why you can't win, huh, Kibble?" Kiba growled at Naruto but said nothing. The answer is simple. The Iankuza rely so heavily on their ninja dogs that without them their overall abilities are reduced to almost nothing, as they need their partner for the vast majority of their jutsus. In short, Kiba without Akamaru, the only ones you could beat here are Sakura and Ino. Kiba bristled in rage. "Akamaru, let's show this idiot who boss, now." He yelled and Akamaru came running before jumping into the air. Kiba also jumped into the air, and in a puff of smoke a giant 2-headed dog appeared. While most were impressed that someone so young mastered this high-level clan skill, Naruto was not. This only reinforced his belief that the Inakuza relied too heavily on their nin dogs. The 2-headed dog then began its drilling fang right at Naruto, only for him to substitute with a brick. "Alright Kai, let's show him the meaning of true power," Naruto called to his demon cat. Kai rushed to his side, knowing what was going to happen. "Secret Jutsu. Soul Residence Kai," called Naruto as lightning began to spark around him and Kai. Kai roared as Naruto lets out a battle cry and an explosion covered them. After the dust settled, Kai was gone, but Naruto was seen wearing a set of gauntlets and greaves that were white with purple strips and fur at the top of both. "What is that?" asked Sakura in awe of the strange weapon. All looked on, mostly unimpressed with the exception of Sakura, Hinata and Tenten. The Inu Kiba just growled and again did the tunneling fang. Naruto moved out of the way with utter ease, but when Inu Kiba turned to try again to hit him, Naruto turned to him ready to throw a punch. All thought this was a moronic move until the punch landed, not only stopping the artificial hurricane that was Kiba and Akamaru but sent them sprawling to the ground. Everyone stared in disbelief at what happened. The question that everyone shared was, how did Naruto get so strong? Soul Residence, a jutsu that causes the spirit and the wielder's power to reach their highest point, then act as an amplifier for each other. In affect, both me and Kai are 10 times stronger than put together. Everyone gaped at what Naruto said. I must get that power for Sasuke, so I'll order the demon to give it to him, thought Kakashi, which Naruto heard. It matters not, as he is fated to be a failure. He'll still be defeated by Inakuza-san, and even if fate decides to favor him, he'll be fated to lose to anyone entering the finals. You have 3 guesses as to who this is, and the first 2 don't count. 10 times stronger plus someone else being 10 times stronger as well. Damn it, Naruto, why must you be so troublesome? If you don't know who this is, you need to watch the show. Naruto-kun is so amazing. Holy shit, that's one hell of bloodline. Anko. A bloodline that gives great power and amazing weapons. I wonder if I can seduce him. Tenten. Is this the true power of the Uzumaki clan, Hokage? What amazing flames of youth! Screamed 2 minds simultaneously. Naruto would have sweat dropped at the twin minds, but he was busy getting ready for his finishing move for this match. As the Inu Kiba stood, it showed the one head hit had broken fangs. Naruto grinned before he suddenly vanished, only to reappear under Inu Kiba in a handstand with his legs tucked in. Naruto then shot upwards while latching a kick to Kiba's chest that set him into the air. Naruto then began to spin as he kept sending kicks into Kiba's chest until they reached the ceiling, then smashed. Thought it. My tower! Screamed Anko in outrage. Naruto sent a few more spinning kicks into Kiba before grabbing the beast's neck and throwing it back down to the arena, and as he followed it back to the ground, he began to spin faster and faster to deliver a highly momentum power backhand to Kiba. When Kiba hit the ground, he bounced, and as he began to go up, he was hit with the backhand into the ground one again, but kicked up so much dirt it blocked all sight of what happened. When the dust settled, Nato stood over out cold Kiba and Dog, both with broken ribs and blood coming out of their mouths. The proctor looked over both the downed one to check if they were okay. After confirming they were going to live, he nodded and brought his hand down in chop-like manner. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. There was no appeal of cheering for Naruto's victory, only stunned silence. Naruto walked back up to the stands. Hinata offered him her medicine and Naruto happy took it without question. Everyone else remained silent, deciding they would talk to the overly powerful boy after the preliminaries were over. They all watched with bated breath to see who would fight next as the board began to spin the names. Neji Hyuga versus Hinata Hyuga. This match really had everyone tense and on edge as Hyuga's Hinata and Neji faced off against each other, and before the fight even begun, Neji tried to psychologically tear Hinata down due to some old hatred that grew within the famous clan. She took his words to heart and almost quit before looking up at Naruto, as Violet met Blue. An entire conversation passed between them. When Hinata refocused her gaze on her opponent, many people were surprised to see a burning fire of determination in her eyes. The moment the fight began, both Hyugas activated their Byakugans and fell into the clan's Juken Ryu, gentle fist style, and attacked with a graceful fury that left many breathless. Back and forth the 2 Byakugan users battled in an effort to overwhelm the other with lethal strikes to the body. After a very heated fight in which Hinata pushed her cousin back, he revealed that the tenketsu in her arm were closed since the beginning of the match. More words were exchanged between the 2 Hyuga, resulting in Neji trying once more to dissuade her from continuing against destiny. When she refused to back down, the match resumed with the same intensity as before, only now Hinata's strikes lost most of their effectiveness, but still she battled to prove her cousin's words false. What happened next not only annoyed Naruto but downright pissed him off, although he hid it well. HMPH, Proctor, she's finished, you can call the match now. Neji sneered at his cousin's prone form as he turned his back and began to walk away. Shosha Hyuga ne, Hayate began until he saw what was thought to be sure. Hinata was putting all her effort into getting to her feet again despite the pain she was in. Neji turned back when he realized that his win wasn't being announced, only to see his cousin standing wearily on her feet with blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. However, the fire in her eyes wasn't diminished in the slightest, if anything it was burning even brighter. Why do you continue to fight against your destiny, Hinata-sama? You are powerless, Scared and confused, so why not just give up? You don't belong here and you'll just end up dead if you remain, my eyes can see that. Neji said as he looked at his cousin with disdain. You're wrong, Neji ni-san, I can see the truth. You're more broken and confused than I about the dissection of the main and branch house. Hinata replied through shallow breaths as she grasped her side in pain but still unwilling to give up the match. This of course sent Neji into a rage as he charged full tilt at the Hyuga heiress intending to end her life. Hayate and many of the Konoha Junins were about to move, however Naruto proved faster than any of them. Just an inch away from striking Hinata, Naruto put his body square between her and the enraged Neji, who found himself hoisted off the ground and gasping for air as he looked directly into unmerciful, yet dead eyes. When the Junin came over to run damage control, try as they might they couldn't make Naruto drop Neji. That's enough, Naruto, don't do anything you'll regret, Kakashi said as he tried to intimidate his student into letting the Hyuga boy go, although he was ignored. Your sensei is right, Uzumaki, if you continue like you'll be disqualified before you even had a chance to fight. Hayate also tried as they continued to try with no luck to get Neji free from Naruto, who let up the pressure just enough that the Hyuga could breathe properly but couldn't get free. After what seemed like a lifetime, Naruto spoke up and what he said made everyone feel as though pure ice was dropped in their stomachs. Quote, If you take another step towards her, I can assure you that I will pluck those eyes of yours from your head. That way you can watch as the ravens feast on your flesh, after I'm through doing to you what you just did to Hinata. Naruto said with such a deadpan expression that Mei flinched at the vision at what the blonde said. Even Orochimaru, who was in a disguise, flinched at the ruthlessness that the Jinchuriki just displayed. Without sparing another glance at the boy, Naruto threw him to Guy's feet, causing him to hit the ground in a heap. Neji sat up and tried to burn a hole in the back of the blonde nin, who paid no mind as he walked over to a coughing Hinata. Kurenai then yelled out, "She's gone into cardiac arrest." The medics came running and ran a quick check only to look distressed. "She's too far gone, there's nothing we can do to save her." Everyone looked shocked except Neji, who grinned. "Nothing you can do, but not me," said Naruto as he shoved they out of way. "Sasert Jutsu, Gift of the Beast," called Naruto as he slammed his hand into Hinata, and a flash of light happened, leaving a confused group. After it died down, everyone saw a steady breathing Hinata. The medics quickly ran a quick diagnostics to find Hinata was not only in perfect health but her body was stronger than before. Her muscles were leaner and stronger, her chakra coils were thicker, and her vital organs were not only fixed but reinforced with more sturdy tissue. "She's all right, all the damage is gone," announced the medic, amazed he got to witness a miracle firsthand. Many Leaf Ninja were grateful that Naruto somehow saved Hinata. The only one displeased by it was Neji, as he believed his vengeance was stolen by this peasant. The medics quickly took Hinata to the medical wing. Kurenai turned to Naruto to ask the question all were wondering, but before she could, Naruto decided to answer. "Gift of the Beast Jutsu is when I take one the spirits contained in my body and seal it into another. This heals everything but exhaustion. It also make a person stronger, but without the bloodline of my family it can only be done once per person, and afterwards it's impossible to remove the spirit. I seal Kai into her, as Kai is the only one who can bring out her real power." Neji, remembering that Naruto summoned the thing from his body, decided to show Naruto she would always be a failure. It doesn't matter, she will never be allowed to use it, as summoning is not a Hyuga technique. She will be banished from the clan if she ever does, said Neji with a smirk, showing this nobody he has wasted a very powerful weapon. But Naruto returned the smirk with one of his own. Hyuga Charter Paragraph 6 Line 13, any Hyuga may use summoning if necessary. Thought this rule was made so the Hyugas could use storage scrolls, but because it says summoning it give a loophole, as the wording means that a Hyuga can use the summoning jutsu, and since it's part of the village's charter it cannot be rewritten without an unanimous vote from both consuls, the Hokage and the feudal lord. Everyone stood in shock that Naruto knew the laws so well. Neji clenched his fist in outrage. Hinata had gained a power beyond anything he had ever seen, and she was allowed to use it. Gaara vs. Rock Lee. When the board showed that Sabaku no Gaara and Rock Lee would be facing off, many thought that it would end rather quickly in Gaara's favor. They were all completely surprised by the amount of skill and power Rock Lee possessed, none more so than Kanekiro, who decided to move over to where Naruto was, as he watched as Lee removed his leg weights and actually powered through Gaara's Suna no Tate, Shield of Sand, and gave him an up-close look at the Omid Renge, secondary lotus, after opening the Kaiman, initial gate, of the Hachimantonko 8 celestial gates. Gaara proved his skill at using the sand in his gourd when he performed Kawarami with a Suna Bunshin, sand clone, to avoid most of the damage. However, many weren't prepared for the bloodlust that seemed to radiate off of Gaara in waves, as it was revealed that he was also using a technique called Suna no Yoroi, armor of sand, when the match really heated up. As the fight went on, Rock Lee proved his mettle and skill as a taijutsu specialist. Ash forged ahead with the battle despite the damage he was receiving himself from Gaara as sand. Sesshomaru had arrived back by this point in the match to see Rock Lee go on the offensive. Gaara directed his sand to attack Rock Lee, who recovered some energy and movement to dodge all the attacks, having decided to end the match while on his last legs, set himself up for a trump card. Rock Lee showed the true extent of his power when he opened the Simon, life gate, and chakra began to pour off him in waves as his body in waves while his skin became red. Just before setting up for his attack, Lee's chakra spiked even further as he opened Shoman, harm gate. Everyone was in for a major shock, Gaara included, when Lee moved in a burst of speed that tore up the entire arena up, and dust flew everywhere as Gaara was hit with a rising kick with so much power behind it that Gaara's sand armor was cracked everywhere and his shield couldn't keep up with the speed Lee was moving it to protect its user. Lee then began a juggernaut run that would never be forgotten by anyone watching, as he pinballed Gaara all over the place with powerful hits that left the sand-wielding nin in pain. With the last of his waning strength, Rock Lee knocked Gaara into the air with a jaw-shattering kick and appeared above him with a punch that attached a bandage to Gaara's sash, which Lee pulled back towards him as he pulled off the Ura Renge, primary lotus, that sent Gaara crashing to the floor in an impressive wave of power. When the huge cloud of dust settled, many were surprised by the fact that Gaara's gourd could become pure sand, which acted as a cushion to help avoid a fatal blow. Rock Lee on his very knees tried to crawl away, only Gaara wasn't satisfied as he used his Sabaku Q desert coffin. However, because Gaara's power was running low as well, he only managed to catch Lee's left leg and arm, which he crushed under the power of Sabaku Susu, desert graveyard, causing the taijutsu using Lee to pass out from the overload of pain. Gaara directed his sand to move in and finish the job, only to be completely stopped by Guy, who stepped in to protect his student. Hayate was about to call the match in Gaara's favor when he, along with everyone else, was shocked at what they were witnessing. Lee, even in his broken unconscious state, was still willing to battle on till the end. Medics were called and Lee was rushed off to the hospital as Gaara was declared the overall winner. That is where everyone found themselves as they were looking at the match-picking screen for the next fight, when it should the next two combatants. Dusu vs Choji Akamaiki. I am skipping this match as it was rather lackluster, so same as canon. Now would everyone gather down here? The Hokage requested. Everyone did as requested. Good, now would everyone please draw a lot? Again his instructions were followed. Now called out your number. 6. Shino. 2. Neji. That suits you, Neji, as you are number 2 in more ways than one. Said Naruto. Even the Jonins had trouble holding their laughter in. Neji was so outraged he actually snarled at Naruto. 4. Gaara. 9. Dusu. How poetic. 1. Naruto said, showing the ball between his two fingers. 5. Kankor. Trollbesum. 7. Do I really need to say who? 8. Tamari. Ibiki scribbled it all down as the genin spoke. And Sasuke will be number 3. Said the Hokage. Before Ibiki showed the genin the paper he was writing on. Match 1 will be Naruto versus Neji. Many looked at Neji and prayed he survived Naruto's wrath. Match 2 will be Sasuke versus Gaara. Gaara grinned and his siblings felt pity for the last Uchiha. Match 3 will be Shino vs Kankor. Match 4 Shikamaru versus Tamari, and match 5 is winner of match 4 vs Dusu. The finals of the Chunin exam will commence in 1 month. Chapter end.